What's going on, everybody, and welcome back into the channel. Brenden Schaeffer, Fantasy Football, back with another Fantasy Football mock draft to get you set for the NFL season. I had a request on a recent video, the Christian McCaffrey 1.1 video, where I decided what would it look like if you took CMC with the first pick in your fantasy draft. Somebody said, hey, can you do the regular way? Show me Justin Jefferson 1.1, but in a 10-team full PPR league. So that's what this video is going to be. If you're in a larger league, we've done a couple of draft selections from the 1.1 in 12-teamers. If you scroll back on the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're enjoying the fantasy football content that we're putting out here on this brand new channel, we are growing quickly and excited to have you guys along for the ride. Stay tuned for the regular season as we'll transition from mock draft content into strategies for your lineups, for your trades. Trade strategy going to be a big part of the channel, as well as weekly waiver conversations. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit like on this video, and comment below with the type of content that you'd like to see on the channel, because it is a new channel. I'm learning as I go, but enjoying what we're doing so far. Let's go ahead and jump right into the mock draft, though. Like I said, we're going to go Justin Jefferson because it is kind of the standard way to start off a draft if you've got the 1.1 draft pick. But what I want to measure here is the way that you can turn the 1.1 into a cheat code, specifically in a 10-team league. If you're in a 12-teamer or a 14-teamer, sure, you get to start the draft with the best player in your pick of Jefferson, Jamar Chase, or Christian McCaffrey. Those are the options at the 1.1, in my opinion. And don't be surprised if Chase does outperform Jefferson this year if you get an elite season from Joe Burrow. I do think it's possible. But the conventional wisdom would say go with Justin Jefferson. So that's what we're going to do here. But if you're in a 12-team or a 14-team league, the turn at the 2-3 turn is a long wait as your league mates get to draft twice before you get to pick for the second time. In a 10-team league, though, it's not as bad. Looking at the way this thing unfolds, you're getting a quarterback off the board, another quarterback goes. We like our options as we sit here at the 2-3 turn, and we expected to do so. And you saw the cover on this video. This is the guy that we're looking for. It's Mark Andrews at the 2-3 turn. I think this is the way that I would strategize it as well. In a full PPR in particular, I think he's just going to get a ton of targets. That Baltimore offense is not the one that we saw a year ago. And last year, everybody was injured, so that was part of the problem. The offensive coordinator and the run-based scheme was another part of the issue. Todd Monken, coming in from the University of Georgia, Lamar Jackson's going to throw the football more this year, and his number one target's going to be Mark Andrews. Keep this in mind, too. In full PPR, Mark Andrews back in 2021 had 300 PPR points. I believe that was more than Travis Kelce that year. If not, it was a very close race. Am I expecting Mark Andrews to be better than Kelce this time around? Not necessarily, but the value that we're getting at the tight end position, I think there's a true tier break after Mark Andrews. So we're going to take him every single time at the 2-3 turn. Okay, what else do we want to do with our lineup? And keep this in mind as well. We go QB, 2 RB, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and only 1 flex. So this is a very shallow design in a 10-team league, which just allows us to be super robust and find great players to stock our roster with. And we're going to do that here with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to be our pick at the 3.1. Tony Pollard is a humongous temptation right here. I'm surprised to see him fall to this level, honestly. This is on Sleeper. If you're not familiar with the website, we're doing a mock draft. We're actually drafting against the CPU, but they're using ADP to color what they're doing, kind of like a version of AI, I guess. I don't know. But Tony Pollard would be a great pick here. The reason I'm not going to take him is I don't realistically think he's going to fall to the 3.1 in your draft. If he does, it would be fantastic to start your draft with Jefferson, Andrews, Pollard. But I'm going to go in a full point PPR, Amon-Ra St. Brown instead. You remember the Cooper Kupp season from a couple of years ago when he was just an absolute target fiend and scoring a bunch of touchdowns for the Rams? I think that could be Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown this season. You're paying more than you had to pay for Cooper Kupp back that year when he was my number one target in fantasy drafts. I got him in around 4, round 5 pretty frequently. Last year, by the way, my number one target was Tony Pollard. So good to see him rising through the ranks. We're 2 for 2 on the last couple of years, being able to pick the targets that we can get in the mid rounds and absolutely hammering those guys and seeing them turn into fantasy superstars. But this time around, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're not getting him in the mid rounds, but I'm telling you what, I think he could be, by the time 2024 drafts roll around, a top 5 overall pick based on what he's about to do in full PPR this year. Okay, moving down to the 4-5 turn, we've got some decisions to make. We love the value that we still are finding at the quarterback position, by the way. It's just fantastic. We're not going to be able to come up with, let me see, what are we looking for at full PPR? There was one name that I was looking for that I just don't see right now on my draft board. But to stack Lamar Jackson with Mark Andrews is something that I don't expect to ever be possible here. But we're going to do it. Okay, hold on. We double-clicked. Pause. Everybody pause. Everybody slow down. You're going to get to see in real time the beauty of how Sleeper works. The one thing I do have an issue with is the glitches. I clicked Lamar Jackson so feverishly that it took a minute for the website to update. So we're going to take away that Justin Fields pick. This is not a super flex league, so there's absolutely no reason to draft 2 quarterbacks consecutively. I was going to make the comment that Justin Fields, I think, is a great pick at the 4-5 turn, and you can honestly stack him with DJ Moore because I don't expect Lamar Jackson to every time fall all the way to the back of the 4th, but these are things that can happen in 10-team leagues that elsewhere you're just not going to generally see. And because it happens here and we drafted Mark Andrews, his number 1 target, like this is an absolutely otherworldly start to our draft. We want to look at what our options are at running back, and we're not too enthused by them, honestly. I did one previously. Full disclosure, this is the second time I'm doing this exact video because the first time the audio didn't go. If you guys want me to throw that mock draft on YouTube, I'll still do it. It just won't have any audio behind it. So let me know in the comments if you are interested in seeing that. Unfortunately, I really do feel like I've got to go with a running back here, and I'm going to take Aaron Jones in a full PPR. I'm kind of anticipating Aaron Jones could potentially take a step back this year. He's not a huge target of mine, and the last time I did this, good old Jahmyr Gibbs fell to the 4.10, and I was like, oh, we're absolutely going to snap him up every time at that turn. Didn't happen this time, so we're going to take Aaron Jones, which I do think he's a tier behind the Ken Walkers and the Gibbs and the Breece Halls. But what I like about Jones in full PPR and what could still make him at age 28 an absolute value in your lineups is the fact that he catches passes really well, and Jordan Love is a young, developing quarterback who may rely on the check down more often than even Aaron Rodgers would have. So I'm interested to see Aaron Jones at this price. I can't argue with it. Joe Mixon's another good option there, but I don't know. Something icky about his efficiency last year. They didn't really replace the Samaje Perine role, which means that Mixon could be a great value where you took him. But I just like Aaron Jones a little bit more. And so that's the way we're going to go at this spot in the draft. Christian Watson, again, full disclosure, the first time I did this 1.1 draft, a 10-teamer, I was able to get Christian Watson at this 6.10. It's not going to happen here, so we're going to have to kind of shake it up a little bit compared to where we were. But I'm going to give it a shot on, Drake London is tempting. This isn't something I often do, but we're going to take Drake London here for one easy reason. One, he's the wide receiver 1 guaranteed in that Falcons offense. We don't like the Falcons passing game. But this is an opportunity to show how you can use a draft in a 10-team league differently than you would in a 12. Yes, he's in my lineup right now at the flex, Drake London is. But I don't anticipate having to use him in that spot because my bench is going to be so strong. If we just find out that Drake London in that passing offense for Atlanta, led by Desmond Ridder, doesn't throw the ball often enough, he doesn't see enough targets, like he'll get a 30% target share. But what's that pie going to look like? It's going to be rather small. So we don't necessarily have to put Drake London into our week 1 flex, and honestly, we're probably not going to. We're going to double down and see what it looks like at some of these other positions here. We like to go elite at the onesie positions in a 10-team league, and so we decided to do that. Here we're going to take Brandon Ayuk, I think is going to be the pick. You talk about a San Francisco offense with tons of weapons to go to, so it's possible that his piece of the pie isn't always as large as, say, a Drake London week over week. But there's a world in which Brandon Ayuk, I believe, emerges as the season goes along and just becomes the wide receiver 1 in that offense, even perhaps over a Deebo Samuel, who's getting a little older, has had some injuries over the years. Brandon Ayuk, when Deebo Samuel is out of the lineup, seems like a complete smash. So we really like the ability to take him at this spot. And like I said, are we considering flexing Brandon Ayuk week 1 over Drake London? Certainly. I think that's a possibility. I would like it a little bit more with Christian Watson, but that wasn't the way the draft fell to us, which is a nice lesson, right? This is why we do mock drafts, because sometimes we have it in our heads the way we'd like to see things go, and it doesn't always pan out that way, so you got to be ready for anything. The good news is we get to pick twice in a row once again. I want to illustrate one quick thing. I'm actually going to pause the draft to do it because I don't want to get in a situation where I end up missing a pick because of it. I want to talk about the tight end move that I made to go Mark Andrews. One of the main things that I want to hammer home when it comes to 10-team leagues versus deeper leagues, the strategy behind it is to get robust at the onesie positions. Now, it's just so happened that we got to do it with a stack, which is very rare. This should absolutely be what you're looking to do. Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson. round 2, round 4 when it comes to a 10-team league. If it doesn't work out, I'm just as happy to take Justin Fields here, and then maybe that compels me to go DJ Moore in round 5 to stack him with Fields. Otherwise, probably makes sense to get a running back. The last time I did this, I believe it was Keenan Allen fell to me at the 4.10, and so I actually didn't take a quarterback. I ended up going Tua in round 10, which was a pretty good value because you can kind of look at the way the tiers go. Trevor Lawrence, to me, the last of a tier. I think Dak Prescott was overdrafted here in the 8th. I did a mock draft previously where it was like until the mid-9th that Dak was taken, and there was a huge gap between when Lawrence went and when Prescott went. That's exactly the same thing that you see at tight end, which is why Mark Andrews is such a tremendous value at 2.10. Nobody takes a tight end in round 3. Nobody takes a tight end in round 4. It's not until DJ Hawkinson in round 5, and then you get more with Kittle and Waller, Goddard in round 6. I think Kittle went way too late. He's a really good value for Team 5. They've got a nice setup here with their roster, especially if Taylor ends up not holding out or whatever weirdness happens with Indianapolis. I guess I could say the same thing for Jacobs, but he just signed his tender, so he's good to play for 2023. What I really like about 10-team leagues that you can't really do in deeper leagues, I would never advocate to go QB and tight end. I guess I should say QB, tight end within the first 4 rounds if I'm in a 14 or a 12-team league, because what it's going to do to your roster, it's going to make you really weak at these running back and wide receiver positions. But because of how strong we are at wide receiver, nobody will have a 1-2 punch like Jefferson, Amon-Ra, St. Brown. I don't think there's anybody in the league that's going to have that. Kupp and T. Higgins, Kupp's great, but no. Lamb, A.J. Brown, maybe. But I would, like in my rankings, I have Amon-Ra over A.J. Brown in my rankings. Maybe that's wrong, but I feel very, very good in a full PPR of what we're going to get from Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. To have the tight end 2 by far, because again, nobody drafting in the rest of round 2, all of round 3, all of round 4, that tells you you hit tight end at the right spot. Because Mark Andrews, he's going to go in this round. If not, he's going to be early 3rd. He is such an advantage. 300 PPR points in 2021, and now they have a more pass-based offense and hopefully a healthy Lamar Jackson. There's no doubt that Andrews was the right pick there. I just wanted to demonstrate that. That's how you can know you're getting an advantage over your league mates. It didn't play out as much at quarterback. It kind of did a little bit because there's a little bit of a wait to get to Justin Fields. But like I said, I would take Justin Fields. Well, I guess it was going this way. Lamar Jackson, 4.10. Justin Fields goes thereafter. For whatever reason, there's a big wait between Herbert and Lawrence. To me, Lawrence is part of that Herbert tier, just so everybody's clear on that. But we have a really good advantage with a running-based quarterback stacked with our tight end. That's what you want to do. And let's end up seeing how it looks at running back and wide receiver, because a lot of times in deeper leagues, that's where you sacrifice if you go early tight end, early quarterback, which is why I advocate against doing both in the same draft. But in a 10-team league, that's exactly what I say you should do, because it's a way to separate yourself at the onesie positions while still having pretty good running back rooms, pretty good wide receiver rooms. We're going to go James Cook here at the 8.10. Give us another minute to talk about what we want to do in the 9th round. We needed an RB2. James Cook is, I think, the starting running back and the workhorse running back on one of the best offenses in football in the Buffalo Bills. Is he going to end up being an every down guy? Maybe not. They're going to mix in, who'd they get? I forget the guy's name. Damian Harris, is that who they got? Buffalo Bills. They got one of those guys that I don't care about. I guess we could search it right here. Yeah, Damian Harris is on Buffalo. He might get some of the goal line stuff, but that doesn't, I get it. People overreact to that, though, in my opinion. And they also overreact to split backfields. Every backfield in the NFL is a split backfield these days, right? Like, it's just, unless you're Christian McCaffrey, and even then, they're still going to play Elijah Mitchell. So I feel very good about James Cook because of the offense that he's in and the idea that he's a young enough running back that we're going to get him at his age where he hasn't yet broken out. And if this is his breakout, next year he's a round 5, round 6 pick, maybe even higher than that. I feel like we're doing the exact same thing with Javonte Williams because we're getting a huge discount after he was injured. He looks to be healthy. I know they brought in Samaje Perine to Denver, but we're getting Javonte Williams in the 9th round to potentially be a bench bat for us, or we could start him over Cook if it looks like we need to on a given week, or we could plug him into our flex over Drake London if we feel like that's the way to go about things. Right now, Brandon Ayuk's my week 1 flex because there's risk until we see Javonte actually on the field, what his role is going to be with a split backfield and Samaje Perine on that team. And so we want to see what it looks like. Same thing with Drake London. We want to see what that passing offense looks like. We expect the Atlanta Falcons to run the ball a lot. So that's why we're going to probably plug in a Brandon Ayuk to our flex week 1. And that's a little bit of a weakness compared to what we did the last time when I did this draft, the video that may be lost to time because the audio didn't work. Kind of a major flub on my part. Hey, subscribe to the channel. We do stupid stuff like that sometimes. But I just love where we are at running back or at quarterback and tight end. I just don't think there's a better way to do this. Yeah, there are targets that I have above Aaron Jones at running back 1. You know, there are guys like Jahmyr Gibbs. I'd love to have him instead. But that would have made us a little bit heavy on the Lions. Nevertheless, do we want to double stack it? I think we do. Zay Flowers is sitting here. It's rare to get Zay Flowers in the back of the 10th, so we're going to do it. Quentin Johnson would have been a great guy to get there, but he didn't fall. I just want to diversify. I want to get pieces of different offenses. I don't think we have anybody on the Chargers yet, do we? No, because we didn't get Keenan Allen in this draft. Not a big deal, though. Zay Flowers, I mean, that's a great value at the back of the 10th. There's a world in which he could actually be the wide receiver 1. And if Baltimore's offense, you're dreaming up scenarios when you're in 10-team leagues. Let's imagine that Lamar Jackson is back to MVP level. They throw the ball more, and he doesn't run it as often. And you feed Mark Andrews at tight end, and one of the wide receivers has a great top 24 type of season. Okay, if that ends up being the rookie, Zay Flowers, absolute smash. You can plug Zay into your flex. You can double stack in your lineup in the playoffs if there's a nice matchup that's expected to be a high point total in the NFL, and you end up having an absolutely wonderful time when it comes to the fantasy playoffs. We do need more at running back, and Zach Charbonnet is a huge target of mine when you get late into drafts. There's no way he should be lasting into the 11th, and maybe he won't under normal circumstances, but at this point, we feel very good about him as our RB4 because we do consider Zach Charbonnet to be the pass-catching running back in Pete Carroll's offense behind Ken Walker. I think he's going to get third downs. I think he is a top 10, instantly top 10, maybe top 8 running back in fantasy if Kenneth Walker has an injury, and Kenneth Walker has been prone in his past to having some injuries. So if you look at our running backs, I know it's a 10-team league, and so everybody's going to be really robust and really solid, but I love the way we constructed this with upside on our bench. Aaron Jones, I wouldn't say he has upside, but he has a really nice PPR floor in that offense with Jordan Love. James Cook, I think, has more of a floor than people give him credit for because of the offense and the role that he's expected to have. And the ceiling is that next year we're talking about James Cook as a round 2 running back in fantasy football. So love to have him. And then if things don't pan out for one of those guys, Javonte Williams, upside. Remember, this guy was a dynasty running back like 2 or 3 in the year that he came out. He had an injury. It happens, but I'm really high on what Javonte Williams could do in a hopefully improved Denver offense. And then Zach Charbonnet, we love what it looks like for him as well. We're going to just do this for the purpose of posterity. Sky Moore is going to be our last pick in this draft because ultimately we did feel like we had enough at running back by drafting Charbonnet as our 4th running back. That's really all you need in a 10-team league. There's going to be so many good running backs on waivers, especially if your bench only has 5 players on it, that we just feel really good about the way we're going to be able to stock our running back room. And wide receiver at the first 2 spots is electric. So what we're really looking to do is figure out this flex spot. Drake London, like I said, I don't want Drake London in my flex. I'm not as high on him in deeper leagues where you have to rely upon him. If this was a 12-team league where you have 3 wide receivers in a flex, I'm never taking Drake London at the spot that I took him because I think he's going to be volatile. I want guaranteed points in those deeper leagues, but in a shallow league where I can afford to stash Drake London on my bench and wait to see if he emerges as an alpha, like the talent level is not the question for London. It's the offense. Even the role isn't the question. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 there. Maybe he splits with Kyle Pitts in terms of target share, but Drake London's talent and his ability in the NFL is not a question to me. I just don't know if the Falcons are going to throw enough to where I'd want him in my weekly lineup, which makes him a great draft pick, right? Because look at our bench. When are you going to have a bench that has this many capable flex players in a deeper league? It's just never going to happen. So we'll probably flex Brandon Ayuk week 1, wait and see what Javonte's role is, wait and see what Drake London ends up getting as far as how many times Desmond Ridder wants to throw the ball. Probably not very often, so we may not flex him. But let's say there's a world in which Ridder takes a step forward and London ends up being a guy with a 30% target share. He's getting 10 targets a game, and suddenly he's just an absolute alpha. Okay, we're happy to flex him the rest of the season, but we don't need to do it right away. Ayuk, we just love that San Francisco offense, so we'll plug him in. There's a little bit of risk with Ayuk because there's a lot of mouths to feed in San Francisco, but we really like the idea that we can throw him into the flex and then say, can London emerge? Can Javonte Williams' role be what it would have been when he was a second-year player, except for he ended up getting injured? Zay Flowers, do we see him emerge in the Baltimore pass-based offense that we think is going to be a lot more robust? Zach Charbonnet, maybe Ken Walker gets injured and we go, oh, he's an obvious flex because he's just going to be in an offense in Seattle that wants to run the football, and he can catch passes too, which helps you for PPR. Oh, and in case none of those guys work out, we'll go with Patrick Mahomes as potential wide receiver 1. Like, we have the benefit of time because we can wait on all these guys. All of them have upside. You're not looking at floor plays when you go with a 10-team bench. Like, I'm going to give you some examples from this group that was drafted late. Let me kind of run through some things here and see what we're referring to. Brian Robinson. I would never pick Brian Robinson in a 10-team league because, especially if it's PPR, because I anticipate that being a split backfield with, Antonio Gibson, and Gibson's the pass catcher. So I think you've got a floor with Brian Robinson, but when are you going to ever feel like putting Brian Robinson in over some of these guys who have a ceiling? Unless, for whatever reason, Sam Howell is a superstar and that offense just takes off and Brian Robinson scoring 2 touchdowns every week from the goal line, I just don't see the upside play for a guy like him. Whereas Zach Charbonnet, you can figure, okay, he's going to start out as the pass catcher, but he's a rookie that they might want to use even more if something should happen to Ken Walker. Like, yeah, sure, Brian Robinson could end up being the guy in that Washington offense if Antonio Gibson gets injured, but does he have the skill set to catch passes as much as a Charbonnet does? I don't really think that's necessarily the case. And whose offense am I betting on more? Seattle's with Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and a Geno Smith that proved himself last year, or a quarterback that we like Sam Howell's upside if it's a deeper league, but do we think he can lead that offense to be great in year 1? Probably not. So I'm betting on the Seattle offense over the Washington offense. That's the way I want you guys thinking when you're in 10-team leagues and you're drafting your bench. Go for upside. A.J. Dillon's another great example. Like, it's an offense that we don't think is going to be as robust, and is he really the pass catcher? He can do it. It's his skill set, but I think Aaron Jones is honestly going to be the guy that catches more passes in that offense, and he's a little bit more of the proven commodity there. And so I really feel like the upside is capped with an A.J. Dillon unless you're banking on an injury. I'm trying to find some other examples of guys that I don't love. Like, there's some good wide receivers in this range. I don't really love Michael Thomas because I'm looking for younger guys that can emerge, not can Michael Thomas make it back to his prime. If he does, that's amazing, but how many years has it been since we've seen it? Adam Thielen, a great example of a player you do not pick in a 10-team league. Because is he going to give you the chance at a floor? Sure, he's a really good and exciting player, but he's old. He's got an offense with a rookie quarterback that we just don't know if it's going to go super well. So if you can tell me Sky Moore, Adam Thielen, make the case for who's going to have an elite year. I mean, a high upside wide receiver 1 type of season, it's never going to happen for Adam Thielen. Could it happen with a Patrick Mahomes wide receiver that takes a step in year 2 after the fact that they've lost Tyreek Hill a year ago and now Juju is gone, McCole Hardman is gone, you still have Kelsey, but other than that, who's going to step up? Like, it's easier to make the upside case for Sky Moore. He's a pick for your bench, whereas Adam Thielen is not. I hope all of these explanations are making sense. I hope you're enjoying the content. I'm going to wrap it up here, though, because I try to keep these to about 20 minutes to respect your time and mine. I've gone a little bit over this time. Hopefully, y'all don't mind it. Hit subscribe on this channel if you like these videos. Make sure you're tuned in all season long. We're going to be doing as many mock drafts as we can cram in before September 10th. And then it's going to be waivers. It's going to be trade strategy on a weekly basis. It's one of my favorite parts of fantasy football, and people don't talk enough about how to strategize these trades. I'm going to do videos just about that exact topic every single week where you guys give me your questions. I talk through it. Knowing exactly what's going on in your league is the way to help people with trades. A lot of times people just say, should I trade Antonio Gibson for Brandon Cooks? And it's like, well, I don't know anything about your league. I want to dive into your guys' leagues to be able to give you examples that are concrete and be able to help you in a way that is actually tangible. So if that sounds interesting to you, hit subscribe on this video and enjoy the ride this fantasy football season with the Brenden Schaeffer Fantasy Football channel. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll talk to you next time on the channel. Peace.